Welcome to our journey through one of the most powerful and mysterious stories in the Bible, the story of Job.
A man who lost everything yet never lost faith. A man tested by suffering, but trusted by God. Today, we'll walk through Job's trials, his questions, his deep anguish, and ultimately, his restoration. Let's discover what the story of Job teaches us about pain, perseverance, and God's purpose. Job, chapter 1, verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. Job was a wealthy man, blameless, faithful, and devoted to God. He had 7 sons, 3 daughters, and thousands of animals. He was deeply respected, and his life seemed perfect. But behind the scenes, something was about to change. Job, chapter 1, verse 6-12. The Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job?" And Satan answered, "Does Job fear God for no reason? Stretch out your hand, and he will curse you to your face." In the heavenly realms, Satan challenged Job's devotion. He claimed Job's faith was only strong because his life was easy. God allowed Satan to test Job, but not to touch his life. This moment would mark the beginning of unimaginable loss. In a single day, Job lost his animals, his servants, his crops, and worst of all, his children. One after another, messengers came with heartbreaking news. Everything he had was gone. Job, chapter 1, verse 20-21. Then Job arose and tore his robe, and shaved his head, and fell on the ground and worshipped. And yet Job worshipped. He said, "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." A faith not shaken by pain. Job, chapter 2, verse 7. So Satan struck Job with loathsome sores, from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. But the test wasn't over. Job's body was now afflicted with painful sores. His wife, overcome with grief, told him to curse God and die. Job, chapter 2, verse 10. But he said to her, "Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" Even in suffering, Job did not sin. Job, chapter 2, verse 11. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they came each from his own place. Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, came to comfort him. For 7 days they sat in silence. But soon their comfort turned to criticism. Job 4-25, summary. They accused Job of hidden sin, suggesting his suffering was his fault. Job pleaded for understanding. He didn't claim to be sinless, but he knew he didn't deserve this. He cried out to God for answers. Job chapter 13, verse 15. Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him. Job chapter 38, verse 1. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. After all the silence, the questions, the debates, God spoke, but not with explanations. Instead, with questions. Where were you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? God reminded Job that his ways are higher, his knowledge deeper. Job chapter 42, verse 2. I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Job chapter 42, verse 10. And the Lord restored the fortunes of Job, and gave him twice as much as he had before. God restored Job, his health, his wealth, and his family. He was blessed even more than before. But greater than the reward was the relationship. Job saw God in a new light, not just with his ears, but with his eyes. Job chapter 42, verse 5. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. 1. Faith isn't about comfort, it's about trust. Even in loss, Job trusted God. 2. Suffering doesn't always mean punishment. Job's pain wasn't because of sin, it was a test of faith. 3. God welcomes our honest questions. Job poured out his soul, and God listened. 4. God is sovereign, even when life makes no sense. We may not understand, but we can trust the one who does. 5. Restoration may not come immediately, but it will come. God honors faithfulness in His perfect time. The story of Job reminds us that faith isn't proven in the light, but in the darkness, when all is lost, and yet we say, "Blessed be His name." May we hold on, as Job did, through the fire, through the silence, until we see God with our own eyes. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more Bible story insights and spiritual reflections. Let the story of Job inspire you to trust God, no matter what.